Parramatta got absolutely boat raced this past weekend. Their fans very rightly weren't too happy about it. They took to booing Dylan Brown. What are your thoughts about booing a player? Are they justified or is it too much? And does Brown kind of bring it upon himself in that he's already come out and talked about winning a premiership at Newcastle when he needs to avoid the spoon this year for Parramatta?
Double-edged sword, I think, to be honest with you, with the booing. Like, Brandon Smith was very, very similar when he was at Melbourne, and then he was talking, I think he went on buy around a week or two after he made his decision, was like, I want to win a premiership in a Roosters jersey. I don't think there was any booze for cheese after that one. Dylan Brown, Parramatta fans and us in the media knew about these options in his contract. And rightly, they took Mitchell Moses back and said, hey, here you go. Here's your new contract. Deal bags, they couldn't do that. And Parramatta and their recruitment team should be rightly getting a kick up the backside for the way they've gone about this. But as far as booing Dylan Brown, I think he's been open about this decision. He's been transparent with them. He hasn't done a DCE and backflipped on them. He's only done what's right. I think the booing's a little bit over the top for mine. Yeah, it's all situational.
I agree. I get it because a couple of years ago, or a lot of years ago now, there was a certain, Blake Ferguson was playing for Cronulla, signed for Canberra, came out and said that he can't win a premiership at Cronulla and he's moving on. And we kept picking him every week. We won a premiership before him, so no need in that respect. But that's not what you want to hear from a bloke who's getting picked over players that could be coming through and playing. Now, I'm not saying they should drop Brown because they have no option. Volkman ain't it. They've named a new kid this weekend, which they had to do. I don't blame him one little bit for taking the deal. It's there. It's life-changing. He had to take it. I think Newcastle will regret it. Now, next year, I think they'll regret it. 10 years, I think they'll regret it. Huge. But I get the booing. If it stops now, I'm okay with it. If it's week on week, then it's like, okay, what are you doing? You're wasting your time. Who I'd be booing is the Parramatta management who said, oi, you can have this, and this in your contract. He's got a 6-year deal at Parramatta on very good money, and he can get out every time the wind changes. Oh, clause activated. Oh, you blinked, clause activated. It is ridiculous. It is amateur hour. I'd also be booing Junior Paulo, who has played for New South Wales and looks like a reserve grader right now. Jack Williams is the only forward I can name in that team that I would say, geez, I'd like him back at Cronulla. None of the others that make reserve grade. They were so poor in the opening 2 weeks. If they're going to boo everyone. Don't just target this kid.
And you feel for Jason Riles a bit too. He's walked into an absolute mess. And I've seen a lot of people critical on Jason Riles. Who else could he pick? Like, they had an all-star reserve grade pack, and he has not named any of them, which is fair play to him. Greg got suspended. Cartwright looked the best of them out of Wenty on Sunday. But I think that there's just teething pains that Parramatta fans just have to acknowledge. And I know it's hard for them to hear after nearly 40 years, but it just feels like they're going round in circles. And Mark O'Neill's got to answer some more questions around his recruitment strategies, around what the hell's going on. It's ridiculous at that club at the moment, and the problem is no one's taking accountability. Boards sit there and sack the coach, move on to the next one, sack the coach, move on to the next one. We're patient with Brad Arthur for the best part of a decade when they should have thrown the switch after 23, when they missed the finals after making the grand final, held him for 10 weeks too long because there was no one on the market, and then we're sitting around panicking when they sacked him.
Yeah, it's a mess. But Brown's the figurehead at the moment. It sucks that Moses isn't there, but you had Moses. They don't beat Melbourne.
That doesn't fix anything. Like, maybe they beat the Tigers. But because with Moses there, he can control those younger players in that pack where they're completing it. I think there was like 12 errors in the first half of that game on Sunday. That first 25 was painful.
Oh, yeah. Honestly, that made me miss the off-season. It was that bad. Luckily, the Tigers played some really, really good football in the second half of that half and the second half. Lockie Galvin, I love. If 10 or 11 clubs haven't got Lockie Galvin as number one, and if the Tigers haven't got him locked away before he gets targeted, crazy.